Well, hello to everyone that's in here. So I'm going to give a few more minutes for people to get in and join. Let me mute myself here and mute myself here. As always, I am on Facebook, on Periscope, as well as YouTube. So let's give just a few minutes for people to come in. Tonight's discussion is all about you. You will lead the discussion tonight. I will be lending my ear to you and talking with you and giving a commentary and feedback to what you say. I will be sharing a little bit, but I want you to really dictate the conversation tonight. And the topic tonight is as teachers, leaders, and parents. As teachers, leaders, and parents, what have you learned about yourself during the pandemic? So, as a teacher, as a leader, as a parent, what have you learned about yourself as we have begun to navigate students in a different way, be it blended or virtually? What has this whole experience taught you about yourself? And that is what we are talking about tonight. So, if you're on YouTube, thank you for watching, first of all. As always, I want you to get in the comments and be in the conversation with us. Like, subscribe if you have not subscribed to the channel, and then share it with somebody. If you're on Facebook, same thing. Get in the comments, be engaged, share this, start a watch party, whatever you want to do. And the same thing at Periscope. Thank you for watching. Comments, comments, comments. That's what really drives this show. This particular show. Now, many times I come in, I'm sharing information, I'm bringing about awareness, I'm giving information, but this particular show, we are just having a conversation, which means you have to be involved or you have to be fully engaged. So get in here. Who's here? Who's here? I see Ms. Patterson is here. Thank you, Ms. Patterson, as always, for joining in the conversation. Now, if you're new to the series, you'll know, or you won't know, but I'll tell you, I kind of go back and forth between my different channels so I can make sure I'm looking in the comments and I'm acknowledging everybody who's in the comments and giving them their due credit, because I want everybody to be involved. So if you see me looking at a screen left or right, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at comments. So now let me mute myself here. So in the pandemic, and I know Ms. Patterson, you have not been totally involved in the schooling experience 100%, but you have experienced it a little bit. And so I'm sure you have some interesting thoughts about what you've learned about yourself as it relates to schools or education or students during the pandemic. I know that I have definitely learned some things about myself, that I've had to really reflect on and make some adjustments so that I could be the most effective, that I possibly can be to students and those that I work with in consultation, to leaders and teachers. Um, it's different. It's different. Is it impossible? It's not impossible, but it's different. So as always, it's 9 o'clock. I hope the kids are down. Let's pick your cups up. Whatever you are choosing to drink tonight, coffee, tea, or whatever. It's 9 o'clock. Enjoy yourself. Get ready to go to bed. And it's a pandemic. You may need it. All right? You may need it. So kids down, cups up. Let's turn up. We're going to talk tonight. So let's get it. We could talk about a whole lot of other stuff. We could talk about the House vote just recently, for the second impeachment of the 45th president of the United States. And we could talk about what's going to happen during the inauguration and the fears across this country, the preparation for the federal government and states to ensure safety of its citizens. We could talk about the increasing numbers of the pandemic. People are dying in record numbers. People are hospitalized in record numbers. There are many cities, many states across this country with no beds available for people, and they're putting them in makeshift hospitals. We could talk about that, but I think you talk about that enough. So let's talk about something different. Let's talk about education. Let's talk about you. Let's be reflective. Let's be progressive. And let's talk about something that is a little bit more positive, right? And hopefully the things you share are positive as well. So um, I'm flipping back between all three stations. I have shared this um, with multiple people. If you're on YouTube, tell me who you are. I know many, even including myself, I don't use my name on YouTube. It's not my real name. So if I comment, nobody would know who I was. Unless you know, even if you go on there and you're being nosy, you still can't figure out who I am because I don't have my identity anywhere on my YouTube page. So it doesn't matter. So who are you on YouTube? I see you. Thank you for watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Who is here? That's the question. And then once we kind of get a few more people in, then I'll start. I'm not going to belabor you because this may not be a long teacher talk tonight, and that's okay. Many people watch this after I go off live because it's late. For some people, they're in the bed or getting ready for bed, or if they're like me, they've just finished putting kids down. So they watch this after the fact, the next day, the next night, sometimes over the weekend, whatever, whenever it is they watch YouTube or catch up through social media. So whenever you watch this, whoever you are, thank you for watching. Thank you for the views. I appreciate it. This is a passion project of mine. I really enjoy doing this. I enjoy interacting with you all. Even offline, I get a lot of questions. I get emails all the time about some of the topics. And it's always very heartwarming to know that people are watching and they appreciate what's happening here in this space. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So again, we're talking about as a teacher, as a leader, or as a parent. What have you learned about yourself during the pandemic? This is Teacher Talks, and, and I'm your host, Christopher Holmes. I'm so glad you're here. So glad you joined me. But this would be nothing without you and without your interaction with me and everybody else who's watching. So I need you. So let me just tell you a little bit about what I've learned about myself. Um, just being personal. This has been a challenge for me in a lot of ways. Um, it has taught me how to be very resilient. So most of you know, and some of you don't know, I have a consulting company and I consult with schools and school districts anywhere across the country. And when the pandemic hit, it really, really put a stump or it halted a lot of my work. Schools shut down in March, which means I was not going to schools to do any work. My contracts were pretty much on the table, but I could not fulfill those contracts because they were trying to figure out how to get students through the remaining part of the year. And we just could not negotiate or come to an agreement on what my consultant looked like because at that point it wasn't a priority. Everybody should understand that. Student safety and education was the main priority, and me consulting with schools and school districts or doing professional development went out the window because it wasn't going to happen. Um, so that was a thing. At the same time, my children, I have two young children, um, were no longer going to daycare. So I was home with my children trying to provide some level of instruction, have a schedule, but still work at the same time. So for all the parents out there that are working and trying to homeschool at the same time, or working and coming home and trying to finish homeschooling, my hat is off to you. That whole experience, and my children were here with me for around 6 months. Even when I went back to work and I was working with schools virtually, I was working from home virtually, doing professional development, doing trainings, having meetings, and I had two children under five. I had two children under five in the home with me, and we're trying to run around each other without anybody going to the hospital with concussion because we were driving each other crazy. So I knew I was a patient person, but this pushed me a little bit past my patience and it taught me how to be resilient, right? how to be resilient. And so that's interesting. I'm saying that word because I'll be doing a talk next month with a group of students at Mercer University, and we're talking about that idea, how to be resilient in difficult times. And so for sure, I will be pulling some of my experiences from this past year into that conversation to share with those college students that I'm sharing with you right now. But it was a challenge. And not only that, that was my personal part of it, but professionally, I had to change the way that I worked with schools and school districts and teachers. As you know, as a consultant in schools, you go in the school, you're working with teachers, you're looking at teacher practices through observations, providing feedback, sometimes modeling, you work with principals. Same thing, you're looking at data, looking at that data in your hand, talking about it, coming up with plans. Sometimes I would be talking about federal policy. We need to look at the policy and kind of go through it as we identify strategies and resources that would really help benefit their individualized needs. We could not do that. So now my job is to redefine how do I provide support to teachers virtually as they teach in the same platform. How do you model that for them? One, if they've never done it before, and that was many of the teachers that I work with, they've never taught virtually. They've never done that before. Or if they're working with a new platform, if they're working with, they've done assignments, but this is not what they do on a regular basis, right? Virtual learning, virtual teaching is not what they do. It's not what the students do. So here I am trying to provide support to teachers that are working with students that have never done the same thing they're doing. So everybody's on this huge learning curve, including myself, because the aspect of what I do has been redefined, or I'm currently trying to redefine it, because the work that I do is important, but I have to come up with a way, a process in order to make it have value for the adults that I'm supporting, if that makes sense. So I've had to be not only resilient, but I've also had to be creative. But I've also had to listen, because the idea of traditional instruction is what I'm used to. And um, my capacity to support good teaching is there. And so trying to be patient and help teachers, not who are resistant, but they're trying to wrap their minds around how to do this in this form. How do I do it this way? I know what I used to do. I've done it 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, but I've never done it quite like this. What about my school culture? What about my rules? Or what about procedures, my routines? Like, how does that look in a virtual setting? Will they do it? Will they not do it? What if they're on but they're not answering questions? If they're not doing small group work, they're not turning in work, they're failing tests. How do I provide remediation, intervention, support my special ed kids, my English second language kids? Like, how do I my gifted kids? Like, it's a lot of moving parts, right? And I'm having to say, calm down, calm down. Everything is going to be okay. Number one, giving them the confidence, giving myself the confidence to say, hey, we're in an unknown territory right now, but it's going to work out. So I had to reassure myself that it was going to be okay, so that I could then in turn reassure them it's going to be okay. The other thing is, I had to realize or reimagine what I actually control. There are many things in this world. Listen to me. There are many things in this world that you and I both have no control over. All we can do is try to have the most efficient, the most effective response. We have no control over many things that happen to us in this world, but we have to respond appropriately. And that's probably the biggest takeaway that I have learned about myself in this pandemic. Responding appropriately is critical, because if you have the wrong response in the work that I do, it could impact many people in a negative way. And that is not something that I ever want to do. Because I interact with so many people, it is critical for me um, to think about the needs of everybody that I serve. And so that's what I try to do. So what about you guys? What would you say you have learned about yourself during the pandemic? As a parent, as a teacher, as a leader, or in whatever capacity that you currently work, or your personal life or in your professional life, but what have you learned about yourself? Because being reflective is a part of your journey, part of your process in growing. And if you're not learning anything new, if you're not growing, then honestly, what are you doing? Are you perfect? No, nobody's perfect. I used to tell my students, and people say this all the time, you can learn something new every day. That's part of growing. You're learning new information. So what have you learned about yourself? This should have taught you a lot. I mean, in the last 10 months, everything that we've been through, especially those in education, we've gone back and forth, in school, out of school, virtual, blended, back at home, back in school, virtual, blend. I mean, just a lot of inconsistencies. And if you know anything about school, um, that can be very, very detrimental because kids need consistency. They need a safe space to work and learn, as well as teachers. And so a lot of this back and forth, constant change, decisions being made and not being upheld because, you know, COVID numbers have changed. And so they have to change their minds. You can't go back to school. You have to stay at home. Or the kids that were at home can't come to school because we need to keep numbers low for social distancing and for class size. And so it's a lot. It's a lot. And so I look forward to hearing what many of you have to say in the role that you play as a parent, teacher, or a leader as it relates to this pandemic. Because I think all of our roles have shifted. I know somebody in each role, and I know they can honestly say, I would have never imagined myself doing what I'm currently doing now as it relates to education. Whether that's being the person that provides the teaching, the leader that is providing the goal and the vision, or the parent that used to be the supportive role in that relationship has now taken on a dominant role in learning. The parents are teaching and they feel the burn, but I don't want you to talk about the burn that you feel because we know it's there. We want to talk about what have you learned about yourself? What will you do differently now that you know what you know? Parents, teachers, what will you do differently now that you know what you know? Because I'm sure you've learned something about yourself and your students that you did not know before this happened. And leaders, how will you lead differently? How will you engage your staff and your students differently? How will you engage your community different? What will now guide the work that you do, or what will influence it that you didn't consider as a factor before? That's the question. How are you different? And that is based on what you've learned about yourself that you want to do differently. All right, so I see some people um, in here. I'm looking for the comments. Thank you, thank you. I like the hearts and the thumbs up. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I also saw a mash face. I know what that means because it's a struggle. It is a struggle. And we're trying to, do the best we can. We're trying to make the best of this situation. And have we reached the worst this could possibly get? Have we reached the pinnacle of the worst? Have we climaxed at this point? No, we've got a little bit more to go. We've got a little bit further to go before we kind of literally get out of the woods, right? We're working our way to the roadside, to there's a clearing, but we're not there yet. So we've got to keep navigating through this dark space together. So that's why I think it's important that we have this conversation because something that you say, I don't think we understand this. The words that you say have power. And the things that you share can positively impact somebody else. One, because they realize that what I'm going through, I'm not going through alone. And two, as you're coming out of it, you're going to help somebody else navigate their way to a clearing space. Okay? A clearing space where there's no clutter, there's no confusion. They're working towards a clearing space in their mind and their heart. But we need each other to do that. This is not an isolated journey we're going through. This is a collective experience that we're all having, maybe at different levels, in different ways, in different areas, but it is an experience that we're all going through together at the same time. And so I love the fact that you guys get in and you comment and you're very honest and you're very transparent. And I think that's what helps drive the conversation, but that's also what helps somebody else, right? All right, so I'm looking in the comments. If you're on YouTube, like, give me that thumbs up, share this with somebody. If you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. Facebook, same thing, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I have a comment, and I'm going to put it in the comments, and I'm going to share it out, because once again, that is what we do here on Teacher Talks. And if you don't get what that means, I'm the teacher, and I'm just talking. Teacher Talks. A Teacher Talks. All right, so let's look at our comment that we have here. And this comment came from Miss Letitia Lewis, and she says, I am more understanding of my staff and their personal situation. So first of all, let me say this, Miss Lewis, thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you adding to the conversation. So I am more understanding of my staff and their personal situations. I think that is true for a lot of people, especially for leaders. I think that people have been more transparent and honest with those in leadership more than ever before, because there's so much going on. For instance, if I were a leader in a school and I have a teacher that has small kids, and let's say teachers are reporting to school, but the school that those kids go to, and it may be in a different county, next to us, a neighboring county, they're not going to school. They are all virtual. That teacher is going to have to come to me and say, hey, I may have a difficult time showing up to work because I have 3 children that are at home with me that have to go to school while I need to be at school. And I'm not quite sure how that looks. Would that be something that that person would have traditionally shared or typically shared? Probably not. That teacher, male or female, would have just worked it out somehow, right? But staffs are having to divulge personal information because many times they don't know what to do. And they're looking for you as the leader to help them figure this out. Because they don't have the answers, maybe you have a solution they haven't thought of, or that they didn't know was even available to them. And so being understanding of what people are going through is a mark of a very, very empathetic and true leader, because it shows that you care and you understand and you're willing to work with them. Because once again, we're not perfect either. We're going through things as leaders, and we know they're working and living in an imperfect environment, especially compared to where they were 10, 12 months ago. So thank you for being understanding. I know your staff appreciates that, that you listen to them and that you're trying to understand and you're trying to work with them as they go through all these personal matters that they probably don't want to share, but they feel compelled to share with you because many times they're left with no other option. No other option. So that's just where we are. Anybody else or somebody else? I'm flipping back through these comments. What's something else you learned about yourself that's helping you to grow? Honestly, it's really, really helping you to grow, to be a different person, to think differently about who you are and what you do. So thanks, Letitia, for sharing. Ms. Jackson, I see you on here. Hello, good evening. Thank you for joining. I look forward to hearing some of your comments about what you learned about yourself during this pandemic as a parent, working with a child at home, and trying to support her go through this experience in a different way. This is not normal school. Not normal school. All right. Who else? I'm flipping, I'm looking, I'm waiting. I know there's a little delay on some of these platforms, so I'm looking to see what you all are saying and popping up with as I continue to talk. I hope everybody is safe. I hope your families are doing well. You know, I told you guys to stay home and be safe over the holiday. Some of us did not do that, which is why some of these numbers are going up. So this is not a blame game, but I want you to be aware that we have to make smart decisions. Delay your desires so that you can reach your destiny at a different time. Okay? Delay your desires now so that you can ultimately reach your destiny at the appropriate time. Because we are in a microwave society. We want it now. We want it now. We want it now. This is not the environment or the conditions of the country right now or the world where what you want, you're going to get right now. I think this all has taught us how to delay our desires. Be patient. Still keep the goal in mind. Still keep the wishes and those things that you want to achieve. I'm not saying don't desire them or put them on the back burner. I'm just saying wait. It's just you're in a waiting season, and so you got to be okay with that. Maybe that's something else I've learned. You got to be okay with just waiting. And I think that goes into the whole idea of not having control. That you have to be okay with waiting. Or you got to learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to learn how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's part of also not having control. Because when things are out of control and you don't know what to do or there is nothing to do, you have to sit back and settle into that position and be okay with the chaos that you have no control over. And so I would definitely say there is chaos going on. So, what do you do about it? Nothing. Share the information with the people that you're around, keep people informed, stay aware of what's going on. Don't be ignorant. Don't be ignorant. Stay aware, be informed. But there are some things that you don't have control over. And those things that you do not have control over, shift that responsibility somewhere else. Wherever you can shift it to a power of being, whatever it is that you believe in within you, then shift that towards that direction. But you trying to control a situation that you have no control over will only increase your anxiety and your fear and your heartache. And that's not going to help you, right? We're trying to be mentally, spiritually healthy during this pandemic because there's enough going on, right? You don't want to drive yourself crazy as we're dealing with everything else we're dealing with. All right, YouTube, get in the comments. Get in the comments. I want to hear from you. Facebook, same thing. I want to hear from you. Thank you again, Letitia, for sharing. And I know this is a lot, but we're keeping it light, right? We're keeping it light. We're having fun. We're keeping it fun. But I want to be reflective. So what have you learned about yourself during the pandemic? I've already shared a little bit. Well, actually, I've shared a lot because you guys haven't shared much. So I'm waiting on you. It's your turn to talk or to type, maybe. Now, there's also an opportunity if anybody wants to come on, I will share this link with you, or I will send you a link, and you can join me live on air right now. So if you want to do that, just get in the comments and say, hey, I want to join you and let's have a conversation. I will send you the information and you can join me live and we can talk side by side, just like that picture is right there. That can be you. Um, I have a great lineup for the next 8 weeks, guys. I can't wait to share with you a lot of new guests, a lot of new topics that will be coming up over the next 8 weeks. I've already lined it up, and so I'm looking forward to sharing with you once again, spreading awareness, spreading information, spreading love um, to the community and to all of you, because it's so important that we keep each other informed on what's going on so that we can make the best possible decisions that we can. And then that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you, help yourself, and help your students, help your community, because all that will eventually help this country, right? More aware, informed, and productive individuals that can make wise and critical decisions because they have the knowledge that they need to do so. All right. I'm looking. If we don't have any more comments, I'm not going to belabor the conversation. But I will say we can definitely revisit this. I think we will revisit this as we get towards the end of all of this. I think there will be more people that would have more thoughts that are reflective, and more personal of themselves and their experiences, because we got a lot of people that's going to go through something else over the next 3 to 4 months that somebody needs to hear your experience, because I think it could be helpful to you. And it also could be, I mean, helpful to them, but also therapeutic for you to talk about it and share. All right. So again, all of you that are watching, thank you so much for watching. For those of you that are going to watch this after I end the live, thank you for watching. You still have the opportunity to get in the comments. At that point, I read the comments at all times because I think it's important to continue to interact with you even after the lives are over. I will be back next Thursday, 9 o'clock. I look forward to hearing from you to continue with a whole new topic and share what I have to give with you. Until then, be safe and be blessed as always.